Hello, welcome to Foul Territory. I'm Hannah Kaiser, filling in as host for Scott Braun with AJ, Erik, Todd, and we're going to be joined later by Matt Gelb, Gordon Wittenmyer, and Max Muncy. Thanks for having me back. That was such a unenthusiastic response from you guys. I was like, wow, I'm so happy to be here. And you're like,
That's exactly. I have one hat that would match your hair, and I'm matching it. Todd tried to match your hair. Like, you have no idea how effervescently we were singing your praises the rest of the days to Scott. We were actually trying to get Scott kicked off, so I'm not sure if you're signed on for the rest of the time.
I don't know.
And it's AJ's colorblind, so
it's only the second worst day of the year. It's only the second worst day of the year, and Scott is not here, so I don't know. Maybe you need me. All right, let's start today and charge the mound with the Pirates pre-screening questions from fans at FanFest. So this was courtesy of a tweet about the FanFest, the upcoming FanFest. Someone took a screenshot of the fact that it says if you want to ask any questions, you should submit them ahead of time. How do we feel about this?
Jesus, I just think it's the Pirates doing what the Pirates kind of do. It's over questions. You don't have to answer every question. I don't understand that. So it's kind of fishy. It's kind of weird. You're screening questions. Was there a problem in the past? Was there a lot of F-bombs put on these questions? Maybe. I mean, other than that, let the fans just be the fans. Let them ask whatever they want. I think they have a right to ask. What do you think, guys?
Yeah. I mean, it's the Pirates Fan Fest. It's not the Pirates telling you what's going on. Like, this is an opportunity. This is what the connection is with your team that you've sucked out of this city because you don't pay anything for players. You don't bring anybody in. You don't try to win. You just try to develop and the 10-year plan and all this stuff. And then you're sucking the one thing that, to me, I think Pirates fan base could be a top 5 fan base. And obviously I'm being biased. Everybody's going to say that in their city, but they absolutely come out and support their sports in that town. And the Pirates have given them no reason to support them, and yet they're still around. And like, this is their one chance. Why would you screen them? If somebody asks a dumb question, I feel like they're trying to like protect Bob Nutting. Like, if Bob doesn't want to answer a question, okay, we won't answer it. Like, it's totally fine. Like, you haven't, this is worse than not answering the question. This is brutal.
Okay, I want to follow up on something both of you said as like from a reporter's perspective. We can't compel you. We reporters, the fans who attend FanFest, we don't have truth serum on us. Like, we cannot compel you to say something you don't want to say. So if you know you're going to get asked about payroll or specific players or whatever it is, think of that ahead of time. Come up with whatever little, Bob Nutting approved answer that's going to not look great and perhaps be a little evasive and skirt the issue or whatever it is, but you can prepare for that ahead of time. And even that looks better than being unwilling to even stomach the questions. This, you know what I'm saying? Like, right. It's like, you don't have to answer the question. Somebody asks you something you don't have a good answer to, talk around it, talk about something else. But to pre-screen is admitting that there are things that fans reasonably want to know about that you are unwilling to even broach the subject.
Or how about just being honest? I think we get away from that. If somebody asks you a question about money, why are you spending? Well, right now we don't want to. Or, the old generic, find a generic answer, like something like you can't do this. This is something so ridiculous and so small, minuscule, that to do that kind of crap, it really is. It's crap, man. You got to be able to, basically be a man, or whoever's running that shit, Bob, whoever it is, answer the damn questions, man. That's why you got this job. It's one day out of the year. Hey, we don't want to spend right now. Sorry, this is the way our team's going to be. Boom, move on. Keep it short and simple. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It just goes to show these type of people who they are, man. It's really weird. Just strange.
Exactly. The most frustrating thing that I think fans feel towards owners is that you bought this team. You wanted to be in this position. You presumably, or generously, we could say, worked hard to be in this position where you have the opportunity to buy a baseball team, to be the person who gets to ride at the front of the float when the parade when you guys win the World Series. Don't you want to be there? You know what I mean? Right. It's like it makes it seem like this is Pirates Fan Fest. These are your fans. These are the people who want to spend a day in their winter getting excited about the Pirates. The fact that you would hide from those people is really disgraceful.
Did the White Sox ever do any fan fest things?
Mm-hmm. They did.
You were there for it, Todd?
I was there for the one 1 year. It wasn't crazy big. They announced the players, fans, and there was no problems. I mean, AJ can attest to it, but at the end of the day, it was real simple. If you had a question, you asked it, and then you answered it. That was there. The Reds were really good. I mean, they they had, honestly, everybody would be on stage, and whether it was 4 players at a time or 3 coaches or 5 of the brass, they'd get a half hour to an hour, and fans would come up with questions, hard hitting, and you'd answer them, and that would be the biggest showcase of the whole thing. That's what fans wanted to see.
Yeah. All right, we got any last thoughts on this, or should we move on?
Yeah, standard. If the Dodgers did this, if the Rays did this, there's so many teams that if they did this, you'd be like, that's tough. And I think the White Sox actually canceled their fan fest this year and the last 2 years. That's why I asked that, Todd. But because it's the Pirates, because the Pirates are just mired in this muck of build, tear down, don't spend, no more than $10 million. Now, to me, this would be the year. This would be the year. Let it out. We spent over our $10 million threshold. We acquired 2 people in the offseason. I mean, you didn't acquire like monsters, but you extended Brian Reynolds to the biggest contract that you've given anybody. They're not doing unbelievable stuff, but they're doing more than they did before. This wouldn't be the time to do it. Just poor PR planning, in my opinion, unless they're really trying to cover something up.
Like you said, if you're winning, it's a different story. Like when COVID happened, I think a lot of teams got away with it just because of that fact, but now they're starting to get back into it a little bit. But yes, if you're winning, shit, man, nobody worries about that. When you're losing, here comes another thing. Here comes another thing. Yeah. Come on, let's go here.
All right. In signing news, international signing news, the Padres signed Woo-Suk Go from KBO. That's the Korean Baseball League. Actually, don't know what the O stands for. The KBO. They from Korea, who is apparently married to other Korean baseball player, San Francisco Giants outfielder Jung-Hoo Lee's sister. So we now have brother-in-laws from the KBO in the National League West. I didn't know anything about this pitcher that the Padres signed, so I am just going to read very briefly from the Fangraphs scouting report. This is what they have to say on Woo-Suk Go. A powerful, compact athlete with big arm speed, Go is a solid middle inning relief prospect with a bevy of offerings. He mostly leans on his mid-90s fastball and low 90s cutter, but he'll occasionally break off a nasty 12-6 curveball too. He led the KBO in saves and in K per walk, so strikeouts over walk, in 2022, and he was first in strikeout percentage among pitchers with at least 30 innings in 2023. So decent signing for the Padres. The middle relief. I don't know.
Yeah. You should have said, gee willikers. You should have said, gee willikers, they did it again. Yeah. I mean, the Padres have had success, or maybe not, success. When they signed Kim, that turned out really well. They signed Suarez out of Japan. He's not Japanese, but they signed him out of Japan. So they clearly have something that they like, the model that they like, because they've had 2 successful signings that have turned out well in the big leagues. Suarez had a little bit of a down year last year, but you see them going after, no pun intended, going after these types of players, finding value there. And as much as people are going to give the Padres a hard time for not doing well last year, they should still be a really decent team. Don't look at who else is in the division. Don't look at the fact that the Diamondbacks went to the World Series, the fact that the Dodgers have bought everyone. The Padres should still be a good team because of the money they've spent. So I like stuff like that. As much as I am a huge baseball fan, I know nothing about Woo-Suk Go, but if he is the type of player that they've been picking out of the MPB and the KBO, he's going to be successful. Like a middle relief arm to add with Matsui, they signed earlier out of Japan. I think it's ingenious because they have to add around the fringes. They have to add around the fringes to make this team a full 26-man roster.
Hey, do you guys know another brother-in-law in Major League Baseball?
Two.
Go ahead.
Garrett Cole and Brandon Crawford. Do you know the other one?
No.
I don't
That's
know
the
the
one
other
that I
That's
know.
the only one I know.
Javi Baez and
there's two. There's one more after that. I got another one. What is it?
it's Javi Baez and Barrios. Jose Barrios.
And then, do you know the third one? It just popped in my head. I forgot. Yonder Alonso and Manny Machado.
That doesn't count. Yonder's not playing.
No, that's good. You know what?
Hold on. Manny's playing, so I get half a point.
No, Yonder's not playing, but that's why Yonder got better because Manny said, look, I'm not going to hit with you if you're going to keep hitting singles up the middle. And so Yonder started. True story. Ask Yonder about it. Started hitting dingers then. Maybe that wasn't it, but.
That's funny. Either way, pretty cool.
I think you made a good point, though, about how, like, the Padres, they had such a bad, disappointing 2023. But you're right. They're not going to tear down a team that has Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. And even if they trade Juan Soto, you're right. They had to find a way to be like, okay, we obviously could be good again. How do we improve without doing what we did last offseason and just, spending a ton of money and blowing it out in every direction? So I like this.
I do. Agreed.
Could be like a silver lining here. I think they're trying to do something here. Yeah, I think it could be a really good pickup. You never know. We don't know how he's going to do in America. We'll see.
Do you think this is a question that I had at the end of last season, which is like, if the Padres had just completely run it back, exactly the same team, same manager, even, like, they could win a division, right? Like, they have the talent. It's such a trick. And in some ways, that's a trickier spot to be in, where you're like, all right, we should, I guess, react to what a difficult season, disappointing season we had, but also it's a team that could win a division. So what are you supposed to do? All right. Let's talk about elsewhere in the NL West, the team that we've probably spent most of the offseason talking about, the Dodgers. We got a little bit more detail on the Yoshinobu Yamamoto contract, specifically around opt-outs. So the language of this, the date, it's going to sound complicated, but in short, it's a 12-year contract, record $325 million. He has 2 opt-outs. When he gets those opt-outs is contingent on whether or not he has Tommy John surgery or otherwise misses essentially a whole season or 134 consecutive service days with right elbow injury. If he does not miss any time, he can opt out after, 29 and 31.
Yep.
Which are crazy years to think about. And if he does have an injury, then his opt-outs would be after 2031 and 2033. He also gets an opt-out if he is traded at any point. He will get an opt-out at the end of whatever season he is traded in. Thoughts, reactions?
Just the Dodgers trying to take the time back if they lose him, right? It's a smart play by the Dodgers, and Yamamoto, it's good for him. He still gets 2 opt-outs. It just matters on the time.
Yeah, I honestly think it's – you think about when people sign. Like, I remember when I was like, man, I can't wait to sign my first, free agent-wise. I want, I want the best hotel room. I want this and that. And like, these are just some inklings to things where you don't even think are even possible. It's like, man, they must have really sat down and thought about these situations, one side to the next. Like, all right, well, you want this, we want that. I would love to be a fly on the wall for this banter that they go back and forth to figure this out. But yeah, I mean, the Dodgers, it just seems like they are on the ball on everything here when they make these deals. And I think it makes it appetizing for players to go there. And I think it helps out on both sides.
All right, Todd, you mentioned the perks. This article from the Associated Press also includes his contract includes a full-time interpreter, personal trainer, physical therapist, a hotel suite on road trips, and 5 round-trip airline tickets each year. So they did really think of everything.
That's pretty sweet. That is 5 round-trip tickets. So what are we thinking? Does he think he's not making the All-Stars? He's going to go back home for those 5 days?
Oof.
No.
No, you're flying family.
I know. I'm busting chops. Yeah, it's all family stuff.
That's what you get when you go over to Japan. When you go play in Japan, you get X amount of flights. You get all that kind of stuff. It's very similar. Obviously, not the 325 million. But the whole opt out and like the injury language. I'm sure that's a touchy subject for MLB to sign off on that because they don't want to give away any guaranteed money. But I know, the case I always think of is John Lackey because he signed, and I bring it up all the time, during his 7-year deal. And I'm not sure who he originally signed that with, if it was with Boston or who. But if he got injured, if his elbow got injured at any time during the 7 years, he had to play, I guess, the last year at league minimum, something like that. So I've heard it before, but all that kind of stuff was way out of my pay scale.
Lackey was smart. He had a good agent. That's why his agent thought of it, everything. And yeah, his last year he had to play in St. Louis. He played at league minimum because he missed that year with Tommy John. So he literally played.
Add that on, or
no? It was already there, but because he missed that year, he had to pay. It was in the contract that if he, instead of making whatever he was supposed to make, it kicked it into $500,000.
Okay, so he would have made it would have been the 6th or 7th year, whatever. But instead, it's not like it was like a 6-year contract, and then he had to play 1 more year on that contract at league minimum.
Yeah, no, I don't believe it was. It was almost like an option that the team had that they could pick it up if
easily pick up, right?
Yeah.
All right, we have a guest waiting in the wings. We gotta bring him in. We are going to talk to the Phillies beat writer for The Athletic, formerly of the Philadelphia Enquirer, Matt Gelb. They asked me who I wanted to talk to, and I was completely biased because I am from Philly and I am a Philly fan. But also, Matt, I loved your Charlie Manuel story. I don't have a smart question, so before we pepper you with Phillies off-season questions, just tell us about how the Charlie Manuel story came together and tell people who didn't read it why they should.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie suffered a stroke back in September, and at the time there was a lot of concern for him. Phillies released a statement saying, please, share your thoughts and prayers for the next 24 hours. I mean, it was really touch and go for him, and he hasn't really talked at all in the months since, and there's been a reason for that, and that's because one of the residual effects of the stroke was he lost his ability to really speak for a while, and I went down to Florida to see Charlie and his wife Missy. Two people I've known for a long time now. I covered Charlie when he managed the Phillies years ago. Kratz, you played for Charlie. I mean, I know you guys have interacted with Charlie over the years, and he's just a beloved figure in Philadelphia, a beloved figure in baseball. 60 years in the sport. He turns 80 tomorrow, actually. So I wanted to write something, and they let me come down there and spend some time with them, and it's really remarkable to see the progress he's made in his speaking. He's diagnosed with what you would call aphasia, which is a typical symptom of a stroke, and he's moving around fine. He's definitely speaking better, and his big goal is to be at spring training. He still has a job in the Phillies front office, and it's a little more ceremonial than anything, but he's still around a lot during the season. Would be there for a lot of home games. He'd go scout the minor leagues. He still loves being at the ballpark, and he's really made it his goal to be at spring training. And the feature was just about his sort of progress back and how baseball has really helped him. I mean, he loves to talk hitting. You guys know that if you've ever talked to him, he loves to talk hitting. And, for a while, he couldn't really talk about anything. And so talking about hitting and talking about baseball has really helped him get his speaking back.
Yeah, I love the article. You painted Charlie in exactly how Charlie is, like the whole his accent and how people saw that as like ignorance, and he hated it. And you even mentioned that in the article, how he hated people seeing him because of his accent as ignorant, and how this like speech thing is, will kind of like lead into that too. So he's kind of dealt with that forever. Is there anybody opening day, since the Phillies didn't win the World Series last year, is there anybody that would get a bigger standing ovation than Charlie Manuel if he were to be called out of the dugout?
Yeah, I mean, no question. Like, if he's able and willing and wants to do it, him throwing out the first pitch or being there for the ceremonial first pitch on opening day against the Braves at Citizens Bank Park would be awesome. I know that they, I mentioned this in the story. They had talked about, had they gotten to the World Series last year, whether Charlie could come up and come on the field for a first pitch. And obviously, they didn't make the World Series. They had to make that decision. But I think I don't know if he would have done it, because I think he was really he was not in a great place. He was depressed because he didn't want people to hear the way he was talking or not talking, and he was concerned about that. But I think he's got a lot of confidence back, and he's worked with speech therapists, and has really put a lot of effort into being able to be back around baseball. That is his life.
All right. So to the team, have they done enough? And before you answer, have they done enough? Could a team, because the Phillies and Braves, they're kind of right in there. They've shown that they're right together. The Braves were clearly regular season, they're a better team, but they beat them in the playoffs the last 2 seasons. Could the Phillies and Braves be teams that go in the beginning of the offseason, we're really good, we don't need to do anything? Or is that just never going to be something you're going to hear from a team?
I don't think they've done enough. I think that there are different considerations, and you can look at it a few different ways, Kratz. I mean, the Braves have been active around the edges of their roster. The Phillies, re-signed Aaron Nola. That really has been their only move outside some smaller things. But they're 2 really good teams. Like, there's no question. I mean, they're great rosters. Come postseason time, remember, it's a different sport. You're going with like your 18 best guys, right? Your 9 best position players and your 8 or 9 or so best pitchers to try to get through October. The regular season is very, very, very different. And if I'm the Phillies right now, I don't think I've done enough, because I need more pitching depth. I think I need some outfield depth. I need guys that are going to help me in June and July and August when I have some injuries. They don't have the deepest roster when it comes to AAA. So I think it is a strong team. I think it is a team that should contend again for a National League championship. I do think there's work for them to do. And we've seen the market move slowly, so it's not exactly, the Phillies have 5 set starters, so they can't really offer someone. They were in on Yamamoto because it was a rare occasion where you have a potential ace type pitcher who's 25 in the market. So every big market team was in on him, but I don't see them in on a big pitcher. Now they're just kind of waiting for other guys to sign, and they hope to get some depth, but they need it. I mean, they really do not have a ton of rotation depth right now.
Matt, what's the move then? What is the move? You just said they have 5 starters. The bullpen help? I mean, their lineup's pretty set, right? There's not a lot of spots in the lineup to go get somebody. So what's the move? Because they're kind of stuck. If you're saying they have 5, yeah, they were in on Yamamoto, but I mean, if they had the money for him, Snell, Montgomery, one of those big name pitchers, are they in on them, or was this a Yamamoto or bust for the Phillies? They got Nola back, and they're just going to say, hey, let's run it again, and hopefully the third time's a charm.
Yeah, AJ. I mean, I think right now the move is just kind of wait around and see what happens. I mean, they'll monitor the market for these top end guys, and if somebody's market craters, which I don't see that happening with a Snell or Montgomery or Hader, but if one of those guys finds that he doesn't have a great offer, maybe the Phillies swoop in, with a shorter term offer and try to get the guy here. But I don't see that happening. So I think right now they're just kind of waiting around, see what shakes out of the trees, and then go get your depth, later this month. Because yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're a pitcher who's trying to get a major league contract now or a guaranteed rotation spot, you're not looking at the Phillies, and you're looking elsewhere. But at some point, those opportunities will dry up. And if you're a pitcher who wants to, be in an organization, has a chance to win, and say, okay, maybe I'll take this minor league deal I'll go to AAA and know that I'm their sixth best option and that I'm most likely going to be in the majors at some point this year. But guys aren't signing those deals right now.
My question to you would be, there was a fan question here that we saw. Why would Bryce Harper even ask for an extension? And what's there to that? And, is that like a huge thing right now that he really needs and wants?
Yeah, Todd. I mean, it's a unusual case. I mean, I don't know that he doesn't have an opt out. There really isn't a ton of leverage on Bryce Harper's side. I don't think he's unhappy. That's definitely not the case. I do think there's an element, of Scott Boras, who was the one who kind of announced this, desire for an extension. Wanting to get as much as he can for Bryce Harper. Remember that crazy offseason where it was Harper and Machado, for months and months and months, and we're falling along. And Machado wanted an opt out in his contract, and he negotiated that in there. Harper did not want an opt out because he said he didn't want to answer questions anymore about this. He wanted to pick his place. He wanted to be devoted to that place and stay there forever. Machado, with his opt out, he used it as leverage to get even more money from the Padres. And I think maybe there's maybe, I don't know if it's regret is the right word, but maybe at least from the Boras side, that they wish they would have had that opportunity to negotiate a bigger deal. By AAV standards, Harper is still near the top. I mean, his $330 million total is, I think, is still top 10 in baseball history. It's not, you could argue that he's underpaid given what he's done for the Phillies in recent years, first 5 years of the contract. But on the Phillies end, I don't think they see this as pressing business. To me, the guy who they want to extend right now, and I don't think these talks happen until spring, but they will happen, is Zach Wheeler, who will be a free agent after the 2024 season. They would love to keep Zach Wheeler in the organization. He's obviously one of the best starting pitchers in baseball. He's aged really well. His contract has been an incredible deal for the Phillies. And, I expect them to try to pursue an extension with Wheeler come spring training.
Okay, I was going to ask you about the Wheeler extension, so you teed it up nicely. Yeah, you wrote that was their most pressing piece of business that the Phillies have before opening day, and you set it up nicely there. So now I'm just going to ask you for your opinion. Do you think it gets done?
I think so, Hannah. I mean, I think there's interest in both sides. Wheeler really likes it in Philadelphia. He loves pitching with Aaron Nola. Now, Aaron Nola will be in Philadelphia for another 7 years. He has a strong relationship with Caleb Cotham, the pitching coach. They're raising a family here in Philadelphia area. So I think he really likes the familiarity of it. Then again, it's not going to be a huge discount. I mean, this guy, if he does get to free agency after this year, even though he is in his mid-30s, we've seen teams, really go, deep for these top-of-the-line starters, even as they age. Jacob deGrom, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, and maybe Wheeler is not on that tier, maybe just below. But it will take, significant dollars to re-sign him, and I think the Phillies are interested there. So, look, I thought the Nola deal was going to get done last spring, and it probably should have gotten done given, how everything ended up playing out. So it's not a slam dunk that the Wheeler deal gets done. But I mean, I think there's a good chance that they can find some common ground in the spring and make something happen.
And there's a little bit of extra pressure because the team I just mentioned, the Braves, Wheeler's from Georgia, so there might be some pressure there that he could go home for his age 35 to 37 seasons, and the Braves have money and they win. Anyway, that's my opinion, but so I think you're right. They need to get it done. Who are the two prospects that we need to actually watch for the Phillies? Guys that could come up, because I don't think Painter going to be – he's not available at all this season, right? He had Tommy John.
Might come back for some minor league games near the very, very end, but yeah, not an option in 2024.
So who are the two guys that we need to take a look at or make sure, could be big pieces for this team?
Well, the first answer will kind of be a cop-out because he did pitch in the playoffs last year, but Orion Kerkering, I think could be their closer at some point, during the season. He may not break camp as their closer, but he's going to break camp, I expect, on the big league team. And this is a guy who pitched maybe 3 regular season games for them last year, came up at the end. Great story. He is why I think that they are not signing, a top-end closer this offseason. They have that much faith in him. They have some pretty good pieces in their bullpen. So Kerkering is a guy who I think is going to factor in even bigger into their plans in 2024. And then the other guy I would list is Mick Abel, who is one of the better starting pitching prospects in the sport right now. Doesn't really have sort of the notoriety, I guess, that Andrew Painter does, because Painter maybe was was the best or second best pitching prospect in baseball before he got hurt. But Abel, to me, is a guy. He pitched most of last season at Double-A. He finished at Triple-A. He still needs to work on his command. There's still some refining to do. He was a high school pick in the COVID draft, but he's right there. I mean, this is a guy who come summertime, if they have a need in the rotation, and he's pitching well in the minors, he will be in the majors. He will be an option for them, and they're not banking on it, but they're hoping that he is somebody that they can turn to if the need arises and if he's pitching well in the minors.
Matt, who is their closer going to be? Is it going to be Alvarado? Is it going to be Kirkering, like you mentioned? Is it going to be someone else, Dominguez? Is there somebody that they've slotted in as their closer going into spring training? I know Alvarado's closed before, but they kind of don't love him, it seems like, in that situation. They had Kimbrel last year. So who steps into Kimbrel's role and takes over that job?
I mean, AJ, they may not have a set guy coming out of camp.
That never works, though. That's never works.
Yeah. and that's the thing, is that last year they didn't have a set guy, and Alvarado really did take over the job in April. Then Alvarado gets hurt in early May, and all of a sudden Kimbrel, who is probably a Hall of Famer, steps in, and in May, June, and July, and August was just nails for them. And he was their guy. And even when Alvarado came back, Kimbrel was still the guy in the ninth inning. So if I had to guess, they go back to Alvarado, because that was his job at the start of last year. He probably is their best reliever right now. But I could very well see Kirkering becoming the guy in the ninth inning sometime during the season. That would not surprise me at all.
If you look on values, on Fangraphs values, not debating Fangraphs or not, they have the Phillies as the number one pitching staff in baseball. You watch this team day in and day out. They haven't made a lot of changes. They lost Kimbrel, whatever he did in the playoffs. He did well during the season. Do you agree? Or are you jaded because you watch too many Phillies games and you're kind of a negative Nelly?
You know me too well. I don't know if they're the best pitching staff in baseball. I think they're one of the best. I mean, the five guys they have in the rotation, and yes, I'm counting Christopher Sanchez, who, from July on was one of the best starters in baseball for a period there. I mean, he's a solid five, and that's what he is. And I know Taijuan Walker did not pitch in the postseason, and there was a lot made of that. But you need guys like Taijuan Walker to get through 6 months and 162 games. He's a guy you hand him the ball, and he's going to give you 5, 6, 7 innings, and he's generally going to keep you in games. They had a very good record when Taijuan Walker started during the season this year, and there was a reason for that. So I look at the staff, and I think it's a really strong staff. I do think the depth is probably what prevents me from saying they're the best in baseball. But if you're taking top end talent, every team's 8 or 9 or 10 best pitchers, they might be the best. They have really good top end talent. Ranger Suarez as a number 3 is really good. The last thing for Suarez to really conquer is durability, is to make 30 starts in a season. He's never done that, and that's a big goal for him this year. And it's a strong unit. It really is.
Okay, I'm going to go big picture again. You wrote in the beginning of your most recent, I think, notes column or questions column, the Phillies need to get off to a hotter start. And I think you had some quotes from Rob Thompson about that. They struggled out of the gate, I think, both of the last 2 years. But how do you reconcile that with a team that made a deep postseason run? When you're a team that made a deep postseason run, are you thinking what went wrong was back in April, or are you thinking what went wrong was in October? How do they balance evaluating their season, and how do you balance evaluating their season?
I think, Hannah, it's a combination of both, but I think a lot of it, they do go back and look at what went wrong in the first 2 months again, because this has happened 2 years in a row now. And yes, the Phillies have made it to the World Series and were within one win of getting to the World Series in back-to-back years, but they were not in the divisional race at all in both of those years. They were out of it by June 1. And I do think that being in a divisional race and challenging the Braves, actually challenging the Braves in 2024 during the regular season is important for them. I don't know that they necessarily want to keep playing in these 3-game wildcard series, and they've mastered that. I guess they've mastered it so far, but those short series, and I know there's a debate about do you want the bye or do you want to play in the series? You want the bye. I mean, you don't want to have to risk playing a 3-game series and weird stuff happening. So I think being in a divisional race would be really important for them. Now, yes, they go back to the NLCS last year and they look at some of the things that happened with the offense and the lineup. And yes, those are things that they are thinking about and talking about, especially all the chasing they did against the Diamondbacks pitchers late in that series. But I do think one of the things that they're really going to focus on is how do we make sure that we don't have the problems in April and May that we had the last 2 years. It's important.
Hasn't part of April and May, especially going back to 2022, they were kind of slowing Zach Wheeler because he had huge workload in 21. Hasn't it kind of been I don't want to say durability, but hey, you know what? We're a really good team. We're going to play to make the playoffs because of the injuries. And on the opposite side, the Braves were healthy, and then they went into the postseason both years. Finger issue, you can't figure that out. Injuries, but they didn't. And then Max Fried was sick the year before. Isn't it about hitting your stride at the end and maybe giving up a few games at the beginning? Or do you think they really care about that? Where's that balance? It's a dichotomy of doing both, and then hey, they've had success, so
I think there's a way to hit your stride, Kratz, in the summer, but also not fall flat on your face to start the year. And that is really what they've done the last 2 years. I mean, they have been under 500, I think, at June 1st, both the last 2 years, which was not reflective of the talent on the roster. Obviously, they made a managerial change in 2022 because they started out so badly. There's a way. I don't know that they have to go, full on, 100%, like crazy, we're not full go like right away. Like you're not trying to, you're not managing like it's game 7 in April, of course. But I think there's a way for them to have a better start, but also, be a team that's smart about how they're using their pitchers, how they're using their hitters, and just have an overall better season that is reflective of the talent on the roster and also keeps them in the divisional race. I think that's important.
Were you talking about Gabe Kapler? Not like April games aren't like October. Was that a Gabe Kapler shot right there, Matt? Because I thought you were a Gabe guy.
No shots. No shots.
Matt, thank you so much for. I gotta know before you go. Are you gonna get this Charlie Manuel tweet framed, turned into business cards? I don't know if you guys saw, but Charlie had some very nice things to say about Matt Gelb's
Too
story.
nice.
About it.
Too nice. That was very kind. But I mean, really, I was appreciative. I mean, both Charlie and Missy, letting me, spend some time with them and having the trust in me to share, the story. I mean, that's really appreciative of that, and that's that means a lot. And those words are way too kind. And after I get off, Kratz can just roast me, for all the time interactions we had. He's seen me for what I really am.
Yeah, you make me cry every day, Matt.
All right. Well, if anyone has not read the Charlie Manuel story, you should go read it. And thank you so much for coming on, Matt.
See you guys. Happy New Year.
All right, Kratz, you want to roast him?
I don't.
He's gone.
I roasted him. I roasted him to his face.
Okay, good. Then we can move
question.
on. Yes.
And it's really nothing about baseball, but he just said Happy New Year. What's the moratorium on Happy New Year after the New Year? Because we're already into the 3rd of January. So, is there a week? Is it 3 days? How long? Because you can say Happy New Year in December and be like, hey, Happy New Year.
It is. It was the New Year.
I would say by the end of the week.
Yeah.
The 7th?
Yeah, this Sunday. Then it's like,
yeah.
All right, we got a weekend.
But what if you don't see anybody for a little bit?
Then it's hey, how you been? How you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I did one spring training? You know how everybody comes back? It's like, hey, how was your off season? How's the family kind of thing? I asked, how was your off season for the first 3 days of spring training to everybody. Like they thought I was an idiot, but
did you double ask anybody? They were like, you already asked me this.
Oh, everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
All right.
Easy.
Well, January 3rd, we're still doing Happy New Year, right? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a great question.
That's why I was wondering what the like Christmas carols. Like, how long do you play Christmas carols? When do you start them? When do you end them?
I think you end them after the day after Christmas. I think they got to stop.
Yeah.
The day after? What if there's still what if there's still presents under the tree? Like you're doing like, my wife's side of the family and then my side of the family. Do we not play Christmas music?
I wouldn't personally.
Here's what I want to know: Christmas lights. There's a Taylor Swift song.
That's a really good one.
Where she's like, we can leave. There's a line in a Taylor Swift song. She says, we can leave the Christmas lights up till January. And I was like, yeah, of course you can. But no shit.
Yeah.
That's when everybody leaves their Christmas lights up too. You're not saying anything new. Are we not all leaving our Christmas lights up till January?
I'm getting mine taken down January 6th. So I think mine's getting down on Saturday.
You're getting them taken down.
You can
I'm
say
not,
Happy
you
New
think
Year
I'm going
until
up on
they're
my
down.
roof? You crazy?
Mine were taken down yesterday, so I'm way ahead of the curve.
There you go. That's great.
Mine are
All
classy
Christmas
enough.
has been eliminated from my house.
Everything.
Damn, that was quick.
Everything.
Trees out on the curb and everything.
When I get home from vacation at Christmas, like I did, it's gone. Christmas is over, kids.
Wow.
I wish I could do it that fast.
The thing about living in a city is everybody has to dispose of their Christmas trees on the street, and it's, apartment buildings, so there's like piles of Christmas trees, which means that actually like January in New York smells like Christmas trees, and it feels sort of like retro seasonal. Okay, we're gonna go back to baseball. We're gonna talk some money moves. We're gonna talk Frankie Montas signing with the Cincinnati Reds. John Heyman reports the deal is expected to be in the $15 million to $16 million range. The Reds, they're making moves. They've made the most moves of the division, but that's not saying much. So I thought this was maybe saying more. I like this way of looking at it. The Reds are fourth most in free agent spending among all 30 teams this offseason. Do we like this deal? Do we like what the Reds are doing at large? How are we feeling?
Yeah.
Do you guys think? I mean, that's a great deal for him. I think. I didn't.
How the hell do you get
that.
15 to 16 million? He ain't pitched in 2 years.
That's where I was.
That's what
confused.
I can't figure out. Like,
No,
how
I was
do you
the
sign
same
him
way.
to a 1-year deal for 15? If you're the Reds, you're like,
Good
great
for
for
him.
Frankie Montas, but he didn't pitch last year. And when he went over
Good.
the Yankees, he didn't pitch at all. He was hurt, so he hasn't pitched in like almost 2 years. And we're like, here's $16 million. Like, you would have thought it would have been like an incentive-laden deal, but the Reds wanted him, I guess. Hopefully he's healthy. He can, but man, that's a lot for a guy who ain't pitched in over a year.
I want to know his
Especially
agent.
This too, wasn't it? This.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You all should have been starting pitchers. That's what.
No.
There's
It's
so
the worst
much
life ever.
Really? You only work every 5 days.
It's brutal.
It's
You
so
don't have
boring.
any friends. Like, you hit.
So
You're
boring.
terrible. You're worse than me at hitting. Like, and chicks dig the long ball. So, I think you're exactly right, AJ. That's what I was thinking when I saw this. If people want to know how much money is out there for players that teams have, this is it. Here's your barometer of where you're going to be like, we're not getting in the starting. Like, if you're the Orioles, you're not getting in the starting pitching market under $15 million if Frankie Montas is getting $15 million. So you better figure it out. And I bring that up because we just talked about the Pirates at the opening of the show. They don't pay anybody over $10 million until recently. You have to keep up. And I think this is just a Reds thing. I don't think the Reds have done enough, but I also think they're the head in the division. That'll be I think they spent like $100 million or something like that. That'll be passed right up by the Cubs at some point. Whether the Cubs have a good offseason or not, they're going to spend some cash. And then, it's going to be way past what, in my opinion, it's going to be way past what the Reds end up spending.
Yeah, and then Hannah said they're the fourth most in free agency this year. Is that saying that the Reds are doing what they're doing best now, like what they should have done, or just the whole league hasn't done anything? And I think the league has kind of been down a little bit. This is nice what the Reds are doing, but at the same time, the league needs to get going here because there's a lot more free agents to be sought after. So good for the Reds. That's fantastic. Good for Frankie. I mean, that's awesome. What a deal. What a deal he got there. So the Reds are doing stuff like that. No telling what other teams are going to be willing to do, I should say.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Spotrac rankings for free agent signings. They've got the The Dodgers at $717 million. That's the highest. Phillies next highest at 172. So you're right. There's really the issue is where's all that money? Where's the in between there? And then they have
Have
the
any of
Reds
these
at
have any of these
106.
signings significantly made the Reds significantly better to where you look at it and you say, okay, they've jumped the Brewers, they've jumped the Cubs, the Cardinals made their moves early, and I know it was for lower end, Lance Lynn and Gibson and Sonny Gray, who are 3 starters. They said they needed 3. They got 3 quick. But have these moves from the Reds made them, when you look at them going into the year, you're like, yeah, it's great. The Reds are spending money. Trust me, it's awesome. Happy because Todd, as you know, for years they didn't spend any money. So,
Yeah.
But now you're like, look at them and say, okay, yeah, they're spending money, but where's the splash? Where's the guy that's going to take them to the next level? Where they go into the season and say, okay, we're hoping. It was a nice story last year. They were kind of in it, and they were, Ellie De La Cruz and Benson, all these guys come up, and you're like, oh, the Reds are the cool story, and this and that, but they were never really in the race. Have they done enough to where we can look at them and say, all right, the Reds have a chance to legitimately compete for the NL Central?
Not yet. No.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they needed little pieces, but I think they're one of the teams. And this is any team. You can't just sit there and look at the Phillies and be like, well, Trey Turner's going to have his year and Harper's going to have his year. Everybody, the players on the field need to play up to their potential, yes. But I think the Reds are a team that, with that lineup, with that exciting, the way they play, the way the position players hit, run the bases, fielding, they're going to have guys step up. But mostly the guys who are going to need to step up are in that rotation. Andrew Abbott, if he can sustain what he had to start the year, I think he's awesome. Hunter Green has to finally reach his potential. Graham Ashcraft has to be able to make 30-plus starts. I think there's guys that are on that roster, and that's why I also think this Montas signing is kind of interesting because they were in for Sonny Gray. To me, I thought they were going to get a guy who was going to smash, give you 32 starts. They don't need another guy that's like, you hope he gives you 25 starts. Like, you need a guy that's going, because guys don't come back from not pitching for 2 years, let alone shoulder, not pitching for 2 years, and then just go out and give you 30. So that's where I'm confused a little bit, but their improvement is going to be from this starting rotation. And if they don't, they're going to be an 82 and 80 team again.
Okay, well, here's where my confusion comes in. You're right. The starting rotation is where they need to improve. Last year, the Reds were 28th out of 30 teams in Major League Baseball in starting pitcher ERA. So, okay, they added some pitchers, added Nick Martinez, added Frankie Montas. Why did they spend, $45 million on Heimer Candelario when they don't need more infielders? You're right. Like, yes, tack on $45 million to whatever you offered Sonny Gray so he comes to Cincinnati. And you're right, they needed it. Starting pitching was the issue, but they didn't solve it in a way that's necessarily confidence inspiring.
Maybe they don't believe. Maybe they don't believe.
Nick Martinez is a good pitcher, but is he, again, I mean,
right.
Maybe Sonny Gray just didn't want to go back there. He was already there, let's not forget. So maybe he just didn't want to go back and pitch at the small park.
He wanted to. There wasn't quite as much. From what I was hearing, the Reds didn't quite go 75. Was it 3 years 75 that the Cardinals gave him?
Well, yeah, so take some of that Heimer Candelario money.
I think Heimer Candelario, and I want to ask this to Gordon when he comes on, I think the Heimer thing may give you an idea of what they really feel like about some of their uber exciting prospects. But I want to hear what he has to say.
Well, that was such a good tee-up. Okay, nobody say anything after that. Let's bring on Gordon. Thank you for that transition. We have Gordon Wittenmyer, the Cincinnati Enquirer. We're going to ask you all of our Reds questions. So, all right, Erik.
I've heard them all, and I have all the answers.
Well, good. I'm glad
His tree's still up, Erik.
Yeah, what the heck?
My trees are still up too.
Well, what's wrong with that? It's still holiday season. It's still January.
So how long does the tree stay up?
Well, it depends on who gets their way, me or my wife.
And
I'd leave it up till I leave for spring training.
But then
Well,
but then the needles start falling off, and it's a fire hazard.
Great. It's still great.
Okay.
It smells.
Right.
It still smells good.
Well, that's good. If it smells good, that's what Hannah said. In New York, they throw them all away, and it smells kind of like.
And the streets of New
Yeah.
York smell like Christmas in early January.
For like 2 days out of the entire year, it smells all right.
Hey, Gordon, I got a question. I don't know if you heard exactly what we were saying, but Hannah had brought up the Jeimer Candelario signing, and when he had signed the 3-year, $45 million contract, my mind went to, do they really because you would think you'd look at this team and say, hey, you need this money for starting pitching. Or do they not really quite believe in certain players being that everyday impact, and they know they have that with a Candelario signing?
Yeah, I think what they don't believe in, put it this way, I think what they believe is that they can't bank on all of them coming back and building what they did last year. Remember, like Noelvi Marte, he's got he came up in August, and Encarnacion Strand came up in July. Ellie De La Cruz came up June 6th, had a terrific first month to 5 weeks, and then was statistically, at least in terms of getting on base and hitting, was one of the worst players in the National League numbers-wise the second half. So we expect in the long run, these guys are all going to, they have talent. They have amazing talent. It's a terrific young group, but this stuff isn't linear. It's not just you bring them all back and they're automatically going to pick up where they left off, or in some cases like Ellie De La Cruz, improve. So if 2 of them hit pretty good and improve off of what they did last year, that's a hell of a percentage. And so when you look at it, Joey Votto's gone, and he was at the tail end of his career anyway at that point. Jonathan India was hurt for a chunk of last year. He's been subject of trade talks, not just rumors, actual trade talks since the deadline period last year. The way it looks now, he'll be there, but they don't have much experience. They don't have much bankable experience in that lineup. You start breaking it down, and if guys break down, where are you going to go? And he's also a switch hitter, which gives them they might be the most platoon-oriented lineup in baseball. I mean, they're almost like hockey shifts the way they go. They'll start a lineup for a right-hander, start a lineup for a left-hander, and then once the bullpen comes in and once they read what's in the bullpen, they'll start putting their next line in. Because they don't have that monster left-hander to build the lineup around. They don't have that guy yet. They have a core that maybe one of these guys becomes that guy. But that's why an experienced guy like Jeimer Candelario, who is a nice, doubles power, gap power at Great American Ballpark. The idea is that some of those 42 doubles he hit that led the American League a couple of years ago go over the fence. And now he becomes a power threat. He's a switch hitter. He can play every day. He can play multiple positions for you. And you can do more with pieces. And my guess is one of these guys that we're talking a lot about starts the year at AAA.
Gordon, do they have too many prospects? Do they overvalue their prospects? Because because we've heard about India getting traded, right? And he's still there. Votto's obviously gone. But you have De La Cruz, Encarnacion Strand. You've got all these infield prospects that they've built up. And they have some now at multiple positions. You bring in Jeimer Candelario to play, I guess, first base, I'm guessing?
First and third. I mean, they really
Okay.
don't. Noelvi Marte played third. Ellie De La Cruz can play third. But again, these guys are question marks. And he might.
Okay.
We
So
might
why
find
not
out.
trade? Why not trade some of these guys for starting pitching depth? Why not make a trade with like the Brewers? I know they're in the division, or the White Sox, and get a Dylan Cease. Or
Well, I'll give you.
Do they
as an-
overvalue these guys, and are they going to hold on to them for too long, and then they're going to be like, "Oh crap, we missed the boat"?
That's the question. That's a great question, because how many times do you get a crop like this and everybody hits? AJ, you were part of a group like that came up in Minnesota, and maybe and they were under the radar. Your group was under the radar compared to these guys. Very talented group, and that group wound up winning. Right? They wound up winning division titles and performing. How many times do you see a group come up and everybody hits? It just, and for how long, right? So I think that that's the danger here. I do think there's been some of that in play. And I think because they're a smaller revenue team, they feel maybe a little more like they have to hold on to guys, or they can't make mistakes the way some other teams can. So, but look, I criticized them a lot at the trade deadline. My thinking was, you're in a place that they were in first place at the trade deadline, and it's a shock. Nobody expected that. They lost 100 games the year before, but you could win 90 the next year and not get in the playoffs. You're there now. This opportunity is right there, and if you got a starting pitcher, that could put you over the top the way that team was playing. It was lightning in a bottle with that group at that moment. And I thought that you should pick the guy that you identify the guy who, for whatever reason, doesn't project as high as some of the other guys in your internal analysis, or a guy that maybe doesn't project to have a position fit as well, or an offensive fit as well as what, for what you want to do going forward, and make that guy the centerpiece of something and go get a starting pitcher. And they didn't do it. And they fell 2 games short of the playoffs. They went out and bolstered some of their areas of need. They should be in the mix again, especially in this division so far, the way it looks. But to my original point, no guarantees. And I do think that overvaluing all of these guys could wind up being an issue at some point. But also, I'll throw this in too. AJ, you mentioned the White Sox and Dylan Cease. They talked to the White Sox about Dylan Cease. White Sox wanted a boatload of these guys. They wanted their top pitching prospect, Connor Phillips. They wanted, was it not? I think they asked. They might have mentioned McLean. They're not going to get McLean. They wanted Encarnacion Strand. Anyway, there's 4 guys. 3 of them were like top prospects, and 2 guys, at least 2 guys that were in their big league plans going forward. The ask was just incredibly high, too high. I mean, too high even for me, and I'm aggressive.
All right, so here we go. Spring training's done with. Let's go in the future here. Everybody's healthy. Give me your starting lineup and give me the guys who's going to be there and who's not. Who's going to be in AAA?
Wow. They starting a lefty or a righty against him?
Well, who do they open up with? Do you know offhand?
I think it's the Nats.
All right, so we'll go
Patrick
righty.
Corbin.
We'll go Corbin then. We'll go lefty.
Okay, so
infield. I just need the infield here. Who we got?
Oh, the infield. I'll just give you. I think the infield will be. McLean's going to be in there. Jamer's going to be in there.
Where though? Where?
Yeah, that's a great question because I take a lot of heat for this. I've been asking about Ellie De La Cruz, the way he finished, and could he be a candidate to open at AAA? I think going into spring, he's got to prove he deserves a spot in the opening lineup, because there's no reason to baby him or use him against matchups. This guy's got to play. He's got so much talent. Oh my God. Even when he wasn't playing well, there were things he did in a game. He helped him win at least 2 games down the stretch when he wasn't hitting worth a damn. So, I mean, he's got such ability. They want him in there. They want to find a way to have him in there. And if so, he'd probably be at short and McLean would be at second. Otherwise, McLean would be at short. And then Noelvi Marte, he blew a hamstring in winter ball. So there's a chance he could be a little delayed as spring training opens. They expect him to be ready for opening day, but he's the least experienced of that group. He could be a candidate to open it at AAA. But otherwise, he could be the third baseman, and Encarnacion Strand could be the first baseman, and Jamer could be your DH. Otherwise, one of those guys is at AAA. You shift a guy over to third, and Indy is your DH, or Indy is your first baseman if Encarnacion isn't the guy, or Jamer's your first baseman. I mean, these are the things that they'll be. The infield's easy because they're all right-handers or switch hitters when it comes to starting against a lefty. But these are the questions. So,
yeah.
And Todd, you know this. I mean, you know the Reds pretty well. This is how they operate. We can make some pretty educated guesses on how the top
Sure.
four would look against a lefty or a righty in the lineup. But as far as who's going to be at what position on the infield, these are all the things that they're going to sort out. And it will probably change sometimes week to week.
And my other question to that is, these guys as coming up as youngsters, it happened to me too as well. I never had a solidified spot until a couple years in. And honestly, I think that hindered me a little bit because you don't know where you're playing. You're coming in trying to figure out, am I a third? Am I in left? Am I playing second, first, wherever that is? I think they need to solidify where at least 2 or 3 of these guys are getting the most playing time. You know, McClain, whether it's McClain at second, De La Cruz is short, and you know whoever you put at third and first, that's fine. Mix and match in third and first, fine. But I think you need to solidify the middle guys because that's only going to help these youngsters. Like, all right, well, I know this is mine now. Now I can just go hit. Understood? You know?
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that if Ellie De La Cruz establishes himself, that takes care of itself because then he's the shortstop for now, and McClain's the second baseman. They got Edwin Arroyo in the system coming. A lot of people think he's the best shortstop in the organization, and that Ellie De La Cruz might even wind up, he might wind up in center field at some point or somewhere off of the dirt. And Edwin Arroyo could be their long-term shortstop. But if you're looking at this year and Ellie De La Cruz is ready to go and they believe in him, I think you have your stability this year in the middle.
All right. Todd loves his hitting, but the reality is this team is going to run on pitching. Who of the current 5 starters, I don't want you to guess who they're going to trade for or sign a free agent, Stroman or nobody or whatever.
No, they're done.
Who needs to step up more from this staff that is already there on the 40-man roster currently?
That's easy. Hunter Green. Graham Ashcraft took a step forward last year. And toward the end, when they really needed somebody, he stepped up and he actually pitched his last couple of starts with a broken toe, trying to stay in there when they desperately needed pitching. I think he showed a lot. He also went through a rough stretch in May and rebounded from that. I think he's a guy that has already proven something. Nick Lodolo, he might be the best of the bunch. Was hurt all year long, so what he has to prove is health, and then go from there. But Hunter Green is the guy that got paid last year. He was the opening day starter. He's the first-round draft pick. He's the guy with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. And the only thing, location with this guy. And coming in, and he has shown glimpses of brilliance. But, glimpses are one of those curse words, right? And this guy can be that good all the time, but he's got to do it every 5 days. He's the guy that if he does that, well, first of all, if he did that last year, even taking away the IL stretches, maybe they make the playoffs, honestly. They were that close, and pitching was that big of a deal, starting pitching in particular. So if he can do that this year and take that step forward, that's huge. If Nick Lodolo is healthy, that's huge. They're not counting on any one of these things being the factor. But that's why they went out and got this depth. If Nick Martinez makes good on his pledge to be an every fifth day starter and do perform kind of like he did for the Padres last year when he started, even though he wasn't stretched out for a lot of those starts, then even close to that, then that's huge for them. Montas is just, Montas, I'm sorry, we got the pronunciation right on that yesterday. He's if he's healthy, we know what he can do. I mean, even recently, we know what he can do if he's healthy. But these are all ifs. Like every single one of these guys has a massive if, and every single one of these guys has an upside that if you saw it, it would be a difference maker.
Gordon, I've known you for 25 plus years now, since you were back with the Twins. Back when you used to blast me when I was with the Twins, and then when I went to the White Sox, you blasted me more. And then you went to the Cubs and took more shots at me, and then you continued that.
I didn't blast you when you were with the Braves.
Because we were awful and nobody cared about us. It's fine. That's fine. Actually, you did. You tried, and then I shut you up because I told you the truth. You did. and then I told you the real story, and you were like, "Okay, that makes more sense."
Ah, yeah, good point. Good point.
So,
Well, see, the truth
which,
will
by
set
the
you
way,
free.
John Lester and I had a nice chat about that last year. I think we played golf together, and we talked about it. So now we're friends again. So thank you. It was all because you blasted me in the newspaper. But that's not the point.
Anytime, man.
Thanks, Gordon. Here's the point. You put out a tweet about the Reds that spent all this money, 105 million, the Cardinals, and then at the end you took your little jab at your old employer, the Cubs. Zip.
Hey, they're not. They were
This
never
is
my
how-
employer.
There it is.
Zip.
There it is.
Yeah.
Look. Zip. Are
Dude,
the
that
Cubs going to
tweet
do
went
anything this year?
January 2nd. That's ridiculous. That's 2 full months into free agency, and a team that has more ability to spend than anybody else was in on some guys, is hesitant, is waiting for the market to come. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're going to find. They're going to spend eventually. They're going to add some players.
Who?
What's the question?
The question was not just a shot. That was just. I'm like a lawyer, Gordon. I was establishing a pattern of behavior, right?
Yes.
And then it got to the point. And I know you didn't work for the Cubs. I know you worked for I think the Trib, right? Chicago Trib.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay. You and Joe Cali, so it makes sense. Okay, you guys. You take your little jabs here and there. It's cool. I get it. We've had our ups and downs.
Was it not accurate?
I respect you. No, I was. But I was just don't get mad. We're just having a conversation. It's all good fun. We were just establishing a pattern of, how do I say this, bad judgment on your part, or I don't know. But it was just a fun time, and plus it got under your skin. So for the first time ever, Gordon, I got under your skin, so I win. So I don't care. You can say whatever you want. The interview's over.
Oh, that's effed up, man. Look,
it is.
And I was rooting for Washington, and then you had that cup, and you keep displaying it every time you take a sip. So now apparently, there we go again. So now apparently I have to root for Michigan.
Let's go.
Yeah, look, that was an out of context tweet, right? The story that includes that
That's right. That's right.
The story that includes that information mentions that the Cubs are still expecting to add, whatever the hell that means. We'll find out. They expect to get a discount on Cody Bellinger or something. But it also points out that, honestly, the Reds spending isn't because they got aggressive. It's not because ownership said, hey, let's go spend and win because we came so close last year. It's because they haven't spent a damn thing for 2 years. They've cut. Their payroll was among the lowest in the game. Well under what they're able to do budget-wise, but they had a plan in place, right? They're going to tear it all down, build it back up, tank for a year or two. They did it. And so now they got all these young guys that they're not paying anything to yet. They've only got one guy going into the offseason on a guaranteed contract, and that was Hunter Green. So this is the resources that they typically have. So it just so happens that this is where they are in their process, that it led to what looks like a big spending winter.
Are you guys done sniping at each other? Can I ask?
Hannah, we've been doing that for 25 years. It's no big deal.
This is a fascinating insight into the level of specificity that players remember in terms of coverage. I didn't realize how.
Oh, I'm very petty.
Yeah,
I'm very petty. Trust me.
Good to know. All right, Gordon. You seem to think are the Reds? Well, let me start here. Are the Reds done? I think you alluded to that earlier. Are they done for the offseason with the spending? Do they have more to spend?
Yeah, I mean they'll pick up, waiver claims and invites to camp and things like that. But they're done with anything that's going to be in their lineup plans or their rotation plans or even their back end bullpen plans. They're done with all that.
So there's no Joey Votto reunion coming.
I don't think so. That would take one hell of a needle to thread at this point on both sides. Look, when they could have brought him back, he's the kind of a guy, that means so much to a franchise for a generation that a lot of times, you want to see him finish his career. They could have brought him back. But for a lot of the things we already talked about, a lot of the reasons we already talked about, he wasn't going to play every day, unless he found, some resurgent, factor of fountain of youth or something. if he did what he did in 2021, but where he was in his career, even healthy, probably he wasn't going to play every day, and they certainly couldn't commit that to him. So once that was the case, there was an amount of this decision that was mutual of him not coming back. Now he wants to play, and if you're Joey Votto right now and you want to play, you don't have that much time under the best circumstances. You want to go somewhere where they're going to commit a job to you. And so we'll see what happens. I thought Pittsburgh might be a fit, until they filled some of their needs there. I thought Toronto would be a fit for all kinds of reasons, his hometown, and they had needs. The Brandon Belt spot. But I don't know what's going to happen with him at this point.
Let me ask you this. With Votto, have you seen his latest tweet that he's been posting online?
Which one? Because
I mean,
he's had a few
there's so
recently.
many. There's ones about him talking about how he feels so lonely, like Sandra Bullock on what's the movie called? I'm just drawing a blank. Kratzy. Gravity. Like he's just floating away. Hey, that's how I felt, man, during free agency. It's a lonely feeling. It's tough. Like I was going to bring up the point, man. Why Blue Jays just signed him for a year? I think that would be a solid move, man, because he's a Canadian for one. Maybe he has a little resurgence. You never know. I just, But as you see,
there it is.
As we're showing the tweet here, as you see free agents, man, as you get older, nobody really wants you. And I think that's the tough part for him.
Yeah, you know him way better than I do. So what do you think? Do you think he wants to go to Toronto? Like if they went and say, hey, we'd love to have you, it's going to be a little bit of a circus around him, at least for a while, and he's going to be the guy, the hometown guy there. And there's going to be a lot of attention. You think he wants that?
Would help. I think it would help with the team they have there with, the Guerreros and of those such guys. I think, to lean on somebody, that's been around the block for this long, I think that can only help. I don't see a problem with Bichette Jr. going up to Votto and being like, yo, man, talk to me about struggles. Talk to me about what you're doing in these situations. I think that would only help the team, especially the Blue Jays.
Oh, I think it would help the team for sure.
Yeah.
Do you think he wants to, he would take to that role too, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah.
But what about does he want to be in the hometown spotlight at this point?
Oh, that's something else. I'm not sure. Maybe it's something he's like, you know what? Let me give it a try. Just because, this might be his last year coming up. Once he does sign with somebody, or if he does. So I know he's not going to take a minor league deal, especially what he's been through. So it's either big show or no show.
Yeah, he shouldn't have to.
Yeah, I agree, man. We appreciate it.
You guys are talking about what the Blue Jays could add in him. So that leads me to want to ask about what the Reds are losing him. I'm just looking at the Reds roster resource page and the ages of their position players. And we got Candelario at 30, but otherwise bunch of 22, 24 with Votto gone.
Yeah.
Who is the veteran in the clubhouse?
No, you're right. I mean, it's Jonathan India, who was a rookie in 2021, right? It's Jeimer Candelario, who was non-tendered by the Tigers a few years ago. So, yeah, I was banging that drum for a while, all late summer, saying they should make a decision on this. They should bring him back. There was an option, $20 million option, a $7 million buyout. So it's $13 million decision. And we've already discussed that they were in a position that they had plenty of flexibility to spend, and they say this was not a spending decision that they wound up making. But I said, yeah, for that 1 year, this is easy. You don't even have to negotiate with him on how many years it'll be. Pick up the 1 year option with this team being as young as it is. So many guys you're counting on that don't even have a full year in the big leagues left. Guys that already have a relationship with him and will tell you what he's already done for them in their careers to prepare them for their success in the big leagues. I thought one more year of him around those guys being part of that group would have been a natural. They didn't see it that way because of all the numbers games and everything. And so this is where we are.
All right. Well, Gordon, thank you so much. This was, as it turns out, we had a lot to talk about with the Reds. I feel like we haven't been paying a ton of attention to them this offseason. Maybe we should have. There's depth to these conversations. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming on.
You want to talk about Michael Penix Jr.?
Ooh.
Oh, no, this is baseball only, Gordon. We're only allowed to talk about baseball. They get mad at me if I want to talk college football.
That's
Oh,
not
good. You knew what sport that was. I did not.
Yes, he's the quarterback for Washington.
AJ only talks about the SEC, so they're not
Florida.
playing anymore.
Yeah. How'd you not beat Florida State in that game?
Ooh.
I didn't
on,
play, Gordon, so I don't
Oh,
know. I didn't play,
Oh.
so I don't know how they didn't win. I can't explain that.
You had them in the
Trust me.
swamp. You had a
But
lead.
you know what? Gordon, I was at the game. You know what all I have to say is 63-3. Thank you. First time in my life I ever wanted Georgia to win a game. And gosh darn it, did they ever win that game. Thank you. Thank you, Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Gordon.
Talk to you after Monday.
Go Blue.
Okay.
I love that Hannah's like, who's Michael Penix?
I was
no
like,
idea.
ha, 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 ha. Somebody else talk.
Somebody else tell me what's going on.
I know nothing about other sports. How do baseball players always know so much about like college football or NFL? You guys are always doing fantasy football or something. And I'm like, I can barely keep up with your sport and I don't have to play every day.
Do you have any idea how much time we have on our hands every day? Every single day, especially on the road. Think about a road when you're on the road in a hotel room by yourself for 10 straight days.
Hurry up and wait.
Yep. What you get on your iPad, you get on your phone, and you're like, okay, what do I like? All right, fantasy football, cool. College football, golf, whatever's on, basketball, whatever it is, we'll watch it.
All right, we have Max Muncy waiting. We're gonna bring him on. Should we ask him about fantasy sports or? Hi. We were just talking. We were talking how much time baseball players have to engage with other sports. Do you engage with other sports?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of those things where I'd say if when it's football season, that's what's on in the clubhouse. If it's the Masters, that's 100% on in the clubhouse. It's I think most baseball players like to watch anything but baseball inside the clubhouse. We spend so much time preparing for the game. We're looking at the pitcher for that day that the last thing we want to do is watch someone else play baseball. So it's a lot of the times it's just whatever other sports on TV, we're watching that.
We were just talking about Joey Votto a little bit, how he's grown to be this veteran guy to look up to. Who's that guy for you coming up as a young baseball player, guy that you kind of leaned on a little bit to help you, get through the rigors of baseball season?
For me, it was always JT. And I think JT was that guy for a lot of people in LA. It's just, he was the guy that was there for so long and, such a professional with everything that he does. I know sometimes his style may not look that, but he's an absolutely true professional and he goes about his work the right way every single day. And so, he was just a guy that you could watch. And he's also such a good guy in the clubhouse that he would, come up to everybody and make sure that they were all doing good. He didn't care how much service time you had, how old you were. He made sure that you were part of the team right away.
Max, we haven't talked to you since Yamamoto signed, and we asked you if you're going to learn Japanese for Ohtani. Well, now you have two guys you got to learn Japanese for. So have you started taking lessons? And no, we're not going to have the fart joke from Kratz again about how he knows how to say he farted in Japanese. But have you talked to Shohei and have you talked to Yamamoto? And were you invited to their big night out at Nobu?
No, I was not invited. No, I have not talked to them. I think they're pretty busy with a lot of the stuff they got going on right now. It's a pretty crazy time. It's a pretty great time to be a Dodger right now. I know everyone's excited to get going for spring, and once we get there, I'll have plenty of time to talk to those guys. We'll have 8 months to get to know each other.
Do you feel like Shohei will be a guy, because pitchers and position players don't really hang out that much? You feel like Shohei will be a guy that you're like, I kind of want to do this with Shohei outside of the field at some point. Like, is there something that you're like, I would love to go to Top Golf because I like going to Top Golf? What would you like to do with Shohei outside of the field that you're like, I wonder if he enjoys this with me.
I mean, from what I've heard, he's a big gamer. I wouldn't mind doing that. You know, I heard
What would you
I heard
play?
AJ talking about I heard AJ talking about things you do on the road, and I think most guys these days are into video games. So I would ask him. I'd say, hey, what do you feel like playing? We'll get it going.
What would you, if he asked you, you want to get on the sticks? What would be your go-to game?
Oh man, I mean, right now it's probably it's probably Call of Duty right now, right? That's what everyone's playing. But unfortunately, I'm not as good as I used to be with 2 kids. I don't have a lot of time to get on the sticks anymore.
Okay.
By the way, Shohei's got to buy everybody those travel things, the travel cases for the whole team, right? With the PlayStation or Xbox in it, the TV. I'm sure a bunch of Dodgers guys have them, right? Where they have their own little compartment they carry with them, and they just set them up in their room, and boom, we have our own. But you got to play something against Shohei so you can win. You got to play like Madden, right? Because then football's not huge in Japan, so you're like, okay, I'll be the Ravens, and you can be, I don't know, the Panthers. Shohei, you be the Panthers, I'll be the Ravens. Let's play for like, I don't know, 600 million and see who wins.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I think I'd have to wait a couple of years to get that payout, right?
True.
Might have to wait like 30 years to get that payout.
That's fine.
That'll do.
Funny. Let me ask you this: on the longs of that, who is the best gamer on the Dodgers right now? Is there a guy that, like, dude, I'm not playing this dude. He's for real.
I don't know who'd be the best. I mean, just because he's kind of the best at everything, I'll just go out and say Mookie. He's kind of the best at everything. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the best gamer in the clubhouse. Also, I know he likes to get on the sticks as well. So it's he's a big Apex guy. I know that he played a lot of Apex last year. So I think why not? He's the best at everything else. He's the best at every position. Why not?
Awesome. That's crazy. I remember when I used to play. I don't play anymore, but I had the Sega Genesis, man, Madden 94, Walter Payton's 1990, whatever team it was, the defense, the 98 Bears I could play with. Unstoppable. I had the best onside kick game you'll ever see in your life. Anyway, what is the day like for you now, man? January 1st just hit around. Is that kind of kick-starting you now? You got to, oomph up the process of starting hitting a little more, maybe focusing on something else in your body, making sure you're healthy, of course. That's first and foremost. We all know that. But what's the plans now as we move forward past the new year?
Well, every day is pretty much the same. You wake up, have my breakfast, go to my workouts. That's 3-4 hours because it's a lot of stretching and mobility stuff along with my workouts, and then in the cage right after that, and then home to be dad.
Pretty simple. And I think people don't understand that as you get older, that stretching and mobility stuff is freaking huge. I used to spend more hours on that, having someone stretch me out than lifting sometimes, just because you know how the back is, you know how your body is. And I think people who are watching right now really need to understand that as you get older, the focus isn't more on power as much because, it's kind of second nature as your swing's never really going to change that much. So I give you a lot of credit on that one.
Yeah, I feel like once you hit a certain point, you realize there's really only so much stronger you're going to get. So what good does it do to kind of absolutely kill yourself with heavy lifting? Obviously I'm still lifting heavy, but I'm not trying to max out right now. I'm more focused on trying to stay mobile and flexibility and just, things that'll help me out, running and defense, trying to make sure I'm staying on top of all that.
This is coming into your 7th season with LA. I know the first year you didn't get called up for a little bit, but essentially this will be your 7th season in LA. Are even you surprised at this offseason? The fact that they've spent over $1.1 billion?
The money might surprise me a little bit. The people they got doesn't surprise me. They've been talking about Yamamoto for years. That's something I can remember 3-4 years ago. Guys kept talking, when Shohei becomes a free agent, who's going to go after him? And our guys would always talk about Yamamoto. So that's a name that I've been hearing for a long time, and I think that's someone they've really wanted. So the names don't really surprise me. The money surprises me. It's a lot of money, but you know what? We'll see. We'll see if they're worth it. I think they've been super high on both these guys for a long time, and I think they're going to be worth it in terms of the amount of stuff they're going to bring in off the field. There's no doubt about that.
Max, you mentioned Mookie was probably the best gamer on the team, and he's best at everything. How interested are you, or how excited are you that he's going to be your second baseman? Didn't Dave Roberts came out and said he's your second baseman? You don't have to play second base anymore. You can focus on third base from now on. And now Mookie doesn't have to worry about playing right, center, left, second, short, wherever they put him. Right. So how interested are you to see? Because I want to see how he does. I think he can win a Gold Glove at second base.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. You know, he's really talented over there, and that's the position he came up playing. And you know, Mookie loves to just be out on the baseball field, but I will say I think he might be happiest when he's at second base. So, you know, I'm really excited to see what kind of year he's going to have. Just I think he's really looking forward to being on the dirt for the majority of the year, and I think that's something that really excites him. And that's crazy to say about some guy who was arguably the best right fielder in the game for the last 6-7 years.
I think both Yamamoto and Ohtani mentioned some version of like other teams offered a lot of money, but the Dodgers, man, I wanted to go to the Dodgers, and there's to some extent I can figure out why. The regular season record really speaks for itself, but just give us some insight about what are they telling guys on these visits? What is it about the organization that the organization can offer these free agents that's really selling these high-end free agents on coming to LA, even when they have a lot of lucrative offers?
I think it's just the model of consistency. The organization is 100% about winning. That's really all they care about is winning, and they've been able to do it for 10, 11 years now, and they're not changing. They're not changing how they're doing anything. They've added some big names, but it's still all about winning. And I think that's when I talk to guys on other teams, they always see that. They always talk about how we're so focused on the end goal. That's getting to the playoffs, getting to the World Series. I know we've fallen short a couple of times with the World Series, but we're always in the playoffs, and that's the first part of it. You can't get to the World Series like get to the playoffs, and we're in the playoffs every single year. We have the farm system, we have the players, we have the staff, we have the medical staff, the strength staff. We're ahead of the game with all that stuff, and I think other players see that, and other teams see that, and that just it's something that excites people with the chance to come to this organization and just know that everybody's focused on one goal, and it's not people aren't focused on trying to get their numbers. They're not focused on things that don't really matter on winning the game. It's we've had some guys that kind of cared about themselves a little bit, and they've been shipped out, and it's I think that's just the cool thing about it. This clubhouse, it's such a great clubhouse every single year. We have a lot of guys, new faces every year, and we always just mesh together, and that's something the Dodgers also care about, is having clubhouse chemistry. That's something they've always been focused on when they bring in new faces. They like to do their homework and research on what kind of person they are, what kind of person they are in the clubhouse, what kind of person they are off the field, and it's it's just it creates a really fun environment, and it's a place that a lot of people want to be.
I don't know if if we asked this question already, but you're in Texas right now. I assume you're back home, no?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Are you a Texas fan at all too? A Longhorn fan?
No. I went to Baylor,
Okay.
so that's yeah.
All right, just making sure. I you can root for them too as well. I wasn't gonna nag on you there,
Well,
but
so I mean, I will say this: when you grow up in the state of Texas, even if you don't go to either of these two schools, you're either an Aggie or you're a Longhorn. Even if you went somewhere else, and so I'm definitely not an Aggie. So if I was rooting for someone in that game, it would have been the Longhorns.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go. I mean, something that I didn't know about. I know Texas is big, so there's a lot of universities there. So,
Yeah.
Baylor. We'll stick with Baylor. I like Baylor too. But let me ask you some differences. LA to Texas. Talk to me about coming back home. Is there certain things that you can do more in Texas than you can do in LA? Can you tell us a little difference about those two?
Just kind of spread out a little bit. There's a lot more room in Texas. Everyone's not right on top of each other, and that's just something that I've grown up with, and I've always enjoyed. You can kind of just spread your wings a little bit, and it's just great. It's funny because my drive to workouts every day is almost 30 miles, but it takes me less time to get to workouts than it does to get from my house to the stadium in LA. And, that's only like 7 miles, 7, 8 miles. And it's just, that's the thing. That's the thing about, where we're at here is just, it's easy living. It's just friendly. Everything's, it's just different.
Or we mentioned how the Dodgers regular season success consistency hasn't always translated in October. Is it the bye? Is the postseason format fair? What do you think?
I mean, I can't truthfully answer that question because we haven't been on the other side of the playoff format. We've had the bye both years. I don't know what it's like to go right into it with the wild card round. So I can't really answer that question truthfully. I look at the Astros; they've had a bye and they haven't struggled. So I don't think the bye is the issue. I think we just have to figure out a better philosophy on how to attack it. I know the Braves have had their issues with the bye as well, but I think it's a tricky situation that you have to figure out the best way to tackle it. And I think we've gotten some ideas after doing it for 2 years. We'll see what happens.
I got a question for you, Max. Yamamoto, is he a rookie or is he not a rookie?
I mean, you're a rookie. I think in a lot of people's minds, you're a rookie, but that's another beauty thing about the Dodgers is it's not bad to be a rookie with us.
Okay, so is he going to need to dress up this year?
Well, again, we do team dress up. We don't do rookie dress up. So yeah, he's gonna have to dress up, but so does everyone else.
Okay, should he be in the Rookie of the Year candidacy for the year?
Yeah, it's his first year in the league. You're a rookie. That's so he in my mind he can win Rookie of the Year.
No doubt. Erik, I don't know where you were going with that. I love it though.
Wasn't Shohei in the running for Rookie of the Year his first year?
Shohei, Senga.
No, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a rookie, and if he performs, he wins Rookie of the Year. I think that's how it goes.
No doubt about it. My question to you, my last one, spring training coming up. You guys face live pitching. Is there like a little something inside where you're like, you know what, I want to face the Yamamoto. I want to see what he's got, just to get, or even if you don't, are you going to be one of those guys that are going to be behind the turtle, whatever you call it, the backstop there watching him pitch?
I mean, if I'm not hitting, I'll definitely be back there watching. I think me and a couple guys have already been talking about that. Miggy Rowe has a saying, when you get jammed really bad or you hit a weak ball, he'll yell out from the dugout. He says, "Take that ball." And so he was texting me. He was actually texting me the other night saying, "How many take that balls are you going to have in live ABs this year with our staff?" And so it's we're already joking around about how we don't really want to face our staff in spring training.
Max, have you seen the javelin that Yamamoto throws, and will you attempt to throw the javelin if you see him out there at the back at the ranch, down the left field line or whatever? Are you going to take the javelin and try and throw it? Because have you seen that whole thing that Yamamoto does, and that's supposed to how he keeps his arm healthy? He throws like this little javelin thing. So I want to see you out there. I want you to figure out a way to have Dino Evil hit you the javelin, and you field it, and then you throw it across, and then have Freddie catch it at first.
If I'm allowed to, I 100% want to try and throw that thing.
Hell yeah!
I don't know if I'll be allowed to though. That's
have him make your own. Have him get your own.
Well, I mean, I could just go buy like a stick, right?
This thing is it's like white and special. Like there's all these videos of him and there's like a certain way you have to throw it, and I don't know. It's crazy because they say that's why he can throw 100, and he's like 5'9".
Well, maybe that'll be my way of introducing myself to him. I'll just go buy a stick, and when the first time I see him out there doing his javelin drills, I'll just go stand next to him and throw my stick. And
throw your
kind of we'll just look at each other and just say, "Yeah, that's right."
You won't.
You're gonna have every kid in high school in New Jersey right now picking up one of these javelins here, just so everybody knows.
In Pennsylvania, they'll just use broomsticks. They'll just come out and just cut a broomstick off and be like, "Well, Max Muncy said it. Yamamoto's doing it, so we're doing it."
Oh, I mean, you seen the big long orange carrot sticks that guys do stretching with now?
Yeah.
I said I could just grab one of those. I know the Dodgers got hundreds of those in the weight room, so I can just grab one of those and go out there. That's kind of the same thing.
What is it? A carrot stick?
Got to be floppy.
It's a stick mobility is what it's called. I just call it a carrot stick because it's bright orange.
Not the thing that Trevor Bauer would do, where it's like wub, 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 and it like flops.
Not quite that, but it's similar.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. You don't need to learn Japanese. Universal language of throwing sharp sticks.
Javelins.
Just,
Well, that's where I'm not
sidle
sure.
up to him and throw a stick, and he'll be like, "Okay,
Yeah.
this guy gets it." Is his
Yeah, that's where-
javelin sharp looking? I haven't seen this.
Yeah, they say that's where I don't know if I'll be allowed. I mean, if that thing's got a point at the end of it, I don't think they want me throwing it, hitting somebody.
I think it has like a blunt. I think it has like a blunt end on it. It looks like a long rocket. The one I watched.
Yeah,
him
that's
throw.
It's got like
It's
a
not quite-
square on it.
Do you guys remember the one that in Revenge of the Nerds? It's before
Yeah.
your guys' time that
Oh, yeah.
they designed for Lamar when he ran
Lamar,
and
and
it
he's
went forever.
like, he's
And it went
running like
forever
this.
because it was designed for this one's designed for Yamamoto, and that one was designed for Lamar. And Max is like, "What? I never saw Revenge of the Nerds. I wasn't even born."
No,
back
I've
then."
seen it. I've seen it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. This thing
Max
looks
is a
cool.
vet
I just
now.
want someone to try it, not named Yamamoto, and let me know how it is. I figured Max is our guy. He's our Dodger insider.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope there's a video of me throwing it then for you.
All right, I love it.
I hope it's not too bad actually.
Clear the field of $300 million players before you do that, though, just to be sure. Maybe everyone who's really integral to their success off to the side. You need like the batting cage around you when you throw the javelin, just to be totally safe.
That would be funny.
Nervous.
Yeah.
I'm getting nervous what we're putting Max up to with these sharp sticks.
And if you took all the $300 million players off the Dodgers, there'd be like nobody on the field.
Yeah, I was going
They'd
to
be
say.
like, "What do I have out here with me?"
I just mean for the training portion of throwing the sticks. Like I'm nervous about what we're signing Max up for.
Anna, that's disappointing from you that you're just going to have Max throw this javelin at the minor leaguers at the minor league complex. I get it.
Yes.
We see how it is. The backup catchers and the minor leaguers. Will Smith is going to be off the field. You'll need somebody to catch it for you. There's nobody else. You're one of the minimum players on this team, Max. You don't even.
It kind of feels like that almost.
Hey, free dinners all year.
All day.
Yeah, next time they go to Nobu, you gotta get them to bring you along.
AJ, I was told to ask you how are those cookies that you ordered?
Oh, dude, they were good. I had to figure out how to cook them though. I didn't know if I had to get them in the microwave, because someone said to put them in the microwave, but then someone said to put them in the oven. And so I kind of had to figure out like the perfect time. Yeah.
It says on the package. It says on the package, throw it in the oven.
I know, but then someone else told me to put them in the microwave. So I tried it both ways. And listen, I'm a big cookie person. I just got some cookies in the mail yesterday, I believe it was. And I was like fighting myself not to eat all of them. So they were now I get emails every week from them. So we're not going to give them a shameless plug, but I get emails from them every week now. And I'm like, how am I not going to order more of these cookies? Because first of all, they're like this big, right?
Yeah,
they're like
huge.
as big as Kratz's head, which is a big cookie.
That's a big cookie.
And so
That's
it's like,
head.
Yeah, they're meant for you to cut them into fourths or sixths, and you share them with people.
They need to send Crumble is another. They make a cookie cutter because there's the same size, and they make this pink cookie cutter, and it cuts them in four. So in the package, they need to send over a cookie cutter, because no one can eat one of those cookies on their own, especially an active player like yourself.
Yeah,
you weigh 300 pounds.
Shit.
The quitters, we could.
Oh well, I don't know.
Yeah, those things were huge. Me and my wife would just split one, and they were just gigantic.
Did you put ice cream on it?
No, you don't need to.
Yeah, but you can.
Yeah, you can, but because it's 12 different flavors, and so we just wanted to get the full flavor of the cookie before you put ice cream on top of it.
What was your favorite? Because this was your celebration purchase for your 9th extension that you signed with the Dodgers.
The red velvet one was pretty solid. That one was pretty good. Actually, the banana cream pie one was really good too.
That was my favorite by far. That was my favorite.
Which I didn't know that was their like number one cookie, I guess, was the banana cream pie.
Really?
Yeah, it was really good.
Are they soft though? Are they soft? It's got to be a soft cookie, no?
They're like $1 million for the cookies. Yes,
they are. Yeah, Max doesn't have to pay for them, but us common folk, we have to pay for them. So they send them to Max. They're like, "Congratulations, 22nd contract extension with the Dodgers. Here's another 12 cookies for us. But for
If
me, when
we-
they're like, oh,
If
Pierzynski
we
here.
say the brand, can we get them to set? I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
I
and I'd
want
like
one
some
now, too.
cookies. So can someone plug
I'm
this.
gonna let
whatever
Max
the
do his
cookies
plug.
are. Yeah, do a plug. Get us some cookies.
Yeah, it was called The Last Crumb.
Mhm.
Okay.
The
And
best
we'd be
part of the
happy
last
to.
crumb. The best part of the last crumb is the presentation too. One of it. They come in this super
Oh,
cool
it's-
box, and you got to rip the Velcro off, and then it opens. And when it opens, music plays. Smoke comes out.
Max's highlights. Max's highlights.
Highlights play in the back.
It's him hitting a
Hey,
dinger into into the Bay and MF and Bumgardner. Yeah.
Hey, that'd be pretty sweet if that's what actually happened, but no, that's not what happens.
All right, don't
Imagine-
do too much free promo.
Looks pretty
Gotta get
good.
them to
I'm
send
looking
us
it
the
up now.
cookies First. Stop!
Yeah, I'm telling you, you're gonna order some. I'm telling you.
Imagine what they sent. Imagine if you got that for your minor league extension. Imagine what they gave to Shohei Yamamoto and Glasnow. Imagine what companies gave them
Well, I
stuff.
mean, they had a dinner at Nobu, right? I mean, that's
Did Nobu? Oh, I thought they paid for their own Nobu dinner. Nobu invited them.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that worked. I just know they were
I
at
don't know how it
Nobu
works.
with the head guy. So
Okay, that's fair.
Okay. So in short, send us cookies. We will. We'll talk about how good they are here on Foul Territory.
We'll eat them on the show.
we'll eat them on the show. All right, Max. Thank you so much.
No, hold on. Before he
Oh,
goes,
you got
I have
more.
a
Oh, you got
surprise.
more.
I have a surprise
Okay.
for him. So hopefully Claudia has it ready. Let's see. But we have a special picture we need to show Max. Hopefully, oh no, it's loading, of course. But it is. It's what Max is going to be throwing in spring training
Oh my gosh.
if we can get it up in time.
Did somebody do Photoshop while we were talking?
No.
All we
It's
need
just it is a
5
picture of
seconds.
Yamamoto with his javelin, and it's not really a javelin. It looks more like a oversized badminton shuttlecock. See, look at it.
Wow.
oh yeah,
That's like a
I
Zapruder
mean, I gotta
film.
try it.
Like, are we allowed to be looking at this? I feel like this is like we don't even know that that's Yamamoto.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, dude, that ain't him. It could be somebody else.
Yeah.
yeah. I gotta try it. I gotta try it.
I feel.
I mean, if I
feel,
start throwing 100 across the infield, I'm in.
Oh, that would be tremendous.
If you start throwing 100 across the infield, those things will be sold out in the world in about 30 seconds.
Yep.
If I start throwing 100 across the infield, I might make a position change.
Prove it. Another extension, 4 years. What pitchers are getting now, you might get 5.
I don't know. I don't know if I'll be young enough for that kind of deal, but we'll see.
Oh no, pitchers in their 30s are making bang too now.
Easy.
Trust me, you become a pitcher and you sign one of those extensions, your wife likes you even more.
More cookies.
More cookies. Yeah, you look at
Buy your
pitchers'
own
bodies.
cookies.
You
Yeah,
look at
absolutely.
pitchers' bodies. They can eat all the cookies they want. They don't do anything.
As long as they're throwing 100, right?
Mass equals
Agree.
gas.
I agree.
Anything
Thanks,
else,
Max.
or can I dismiss Max?
No, we've
good.
last crumbed. We've done everything we've done. Yeah, I appreciate it. We've talked javelin. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, it was a good
All
time.
right, go stretch, eat your cookies, hang out with the
No.
fam.
That was the cookies were back in the fall. No more
Oh,
cookies.
Mm-mm.
Hannah, it's training time now. It's focus
Yeah.
time. He's got under 6 weeks to get ready for the ranch.
Focused.
It's
All right.
shorter than that. We got to go to Korea. Remember?
Oh,
Oh,
Good luck.
Enjoy that. That's a good thing. We all acted like your 2-year-old tripped and fell. No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
No, it'll be a lot of fun, but just spring training's a little bit earlier because of that. We gotta make a trip in the middle of spring training.
You guys get extra payment for that too, don't you?
Probably. I don't know what the
I think
number is,
so.
but
That's great. That
Drop
pays
in
for
the bucket.
more cookies.
it's got to be weird though, right? I don't know. I never did that, but it's got to be strange. You're going to go over there, play 2 games, and then come back and play some spring training games after?
yeah. So I think the way we're gonna be over there for a week. I think we play a couple of the Korean teams first, and then we play the Padres for 2 games, and then we come back, and there's still like a week of spring training left. So
You're going to be like, I'm 4 for 8 with 2 homers after 2 games. Oh, wait, now I got to go face this minor leaguer number 117 in the 5th inning. What am I doing, Doc? Why am I out here, Doc?
Well, it'll be interesting because I mean, I would assume that we'll play, the starters will play a full 9 innings, right? And then you'll come back for spring training games where you play 5 and dive. I think that'll be the weird part about it.
That way, yeah. You guys are going to win 119 games anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Hey, that'd be fun if we did.
Yeah, that'd be boring.
Good
All
luck,
right.
brother.
Enjoy Korea. Enjoy the off season. Enjoy Texas. Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, now let's get into BetMGM. We have the World Series BetMGM Future Odds World Series Division winner. My deduction from this is that they seem to think that someone from the AL East is going to win the World Series and not the Dodgers from the NL West, which is what I would have thought after all these moves that the NL West would have better odds. Better odds, is that how I say that, than the AL East? Okay. $1,500 first bet offer, bonus code FOUL, FOUL. How to get this offer in 4 easy steps. 1, download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit betmgm.com to sign up and deposit at least $10 into your BetMGM Sportsbook account. 3, place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Okay, we're doing a segment because I've got a problem.
Is it the sirens behind you? That's the problem?
Hannah, you are leading the league right now. You're leading the AL Central in noises.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's the apartment on the other side of the wall right there that's doing construction. And
they're getting arrested?
Oh, the sirens are just because I live in the city. That's all the time.
That's just life.
I don't even hear that. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. That I've learned to tune out. My husband always says that if we had a child in this apartment, like if we were raising a child, that they would grow up with anxiety because of the constant noise. And I'm always like, I think that ship has already sailed because they'll be related to me. And I have pretty bad anxiety.
Doesn't matter where you live.
Exactly. Okay. This is our we've got a problem segment intro.
We couldn't have photoshopped Hannah's face over Scott's.
Oh, that would have been great.
I'm also from New Jersey. That could have been about me.
Yes.
It wouldn't have looked good. Scott's picture, it freaks me out every time, and I don't care if it's one of Todd's cousins. The hand in Scott's picture, the person like bites its nails, and they're like super short nails, and that wouldn't have been Hannah style.
You know, I'm watching Sopranos for the first time right now, so I'm like very in a New Jersey mobster mindset.
New Jersey?
First
yes,
time?
I had never seen it. Years ago, like maybe 8 years ago, I watched like the first 2 episodes, and I was like, "This is pretty violent," and I stopped. And I've since toughened up, and I was like, "You know what? I think I can handle it." And now I'm further into it, and I'm all in now. I like it. Okay, we're calling it resolutions because that's a nice seasonal excuse for me to get to talk about some changes that I would like to see in 2024 in Major League Baseball. And because they are resolutions, I made them for individual groups or people or whatever. So, okay, this is for everyone in baseball, players, front office members, honestly, 29 of the 30 owners. I'd love to hear from you. Tell us what you really think of the A's situation. We have fans and media members and you guys out here all the time telling it like it is. What a travesty this is. And I think there is plenty of reason for plenty of people in baseball right now to be frustrated, to be mad, to be what the heck? How come we don't know where they're going to play? What's happening with this? Why did they get the relocation fee waived? Why did Major League Baseball approve a plan that seemingly answered none of the questions that other owners should have had for the A's? I am surprised genuinely that we do not hear more from other invested parties into what a mess this has been. Fine, you want to move the team to Vegas, that's on you, but you should at least have to present a viable plan that doesn't include several seasons worth of not even knowing where the team is going to play. Or like, shouldn't other teams, other players, they should be like, where are we going? That's frustrating. That's on us. That's going to affect our careers, the players themselves, the minor leaguers, whatever. I want to hear in 2024 from people with invested stakes in Major League Baseball about their genuine feelings. And if you know what, if you think it's great, sure, I'd love to hear that too. Okay. For the players. My
Wow.
resolution for the players. Run even more. They changed the rules around stolen bases, the pickoff attempts, the bigger bases, all that to try to get stolen bases up. And they were up, but not only were stolen bases up, the success rate was up to over 80%. And usually it's around 75%. And you know what that means? You guys aren't running enough. You need to be running more. If you're not getting caught 25% of the time, you're not trying. I want to see everyone pushing how far you can take these more lenient stolen base rules. Force the pitchers to come up with better pickoff moves if they're limited in how many times they can throw over. I think this is still a market inefficiency and untapped part of the game. You can afford to get that success rate down a little if it means even more chaos on the base paths. Okay, that's 2. For 3, for the commissioner's office, admit that the ghost runner is an unnecessary bridge too far, especially in a post-pitch clock world. The ghost runner, I understand why it was introduced in 2020. I even understand why the need to limit some of the more extreme game times was an issue when game time was an issue. But now that we are addressing game time in the way that it really should be addressed, which is pulling out the dead time from in between at bats and from in between pitches, we don't need to be lopping off the most exciting part of games artificially. And in fact, they've shortened the pitch clock even more from last year going into this year. I think if we had done it in reverse, we would have never gotten the ghost runner. And that seems like a terrible reason to forever be stuck with the ghost runner. Okay, I got 2 more. For commentators, for people who talk about baseball, beware of the small sample size, but respect the small sample size. I fall victim to this every single season. Something happens early in the season. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the Pirates, just to choose a random example, are going to the World Series because they were like 600 in April and May, and then they, fall off a cliff. So beware of the small sample size. However, I also think there is a tendency from the more nerdy segment of the baseball commentating population to say, it's not real. That's a small sample size. It's not real. Oh, that guy's been hot for the first couple months. That's not quote unquote real. And we should differentiate between what is predictive and what is real, because there is beauty in just appreciating what has already happened in baseball, even if it happened over a small sample size. And I think that in some ways, the industry's focus on knowing what's going to come, what is a predictive stat, and sometimes robs us of our ability to appreciate unexpected things that have already happened. If a team totally overperforms for the first month, maybe that doesn't mean they're going to win the World Series or even be in the postseason or even finish over 500. But that's still fun. That's still interesting. We can still tell the story of that month in which they overperformed. And for the fans, finally, appreciate what the postseason is and what it isn't. I'm getting out ahead of this. I'm like 9 months early. I just want to put it on everyone's radar. The Dodgers are very, very good. They might not win the World Series, and that's okay. I just don't know that we need to do another year of relitigating the postseason format just because the team we saw that was really good in January isn't the team standing at the end of October or November. That's part of the beauty of baseball. Enjoy it. If the Dodgers win a historic number of games in the regular season, that's incredible. That's amazing. That really happened. And if they get eliminated by, I don't know, the Phillies, to choose a team at random in October, that's okay too. That's what the postseason is. Those are my resolutions. Do you guys have resolutions for me?
You lost me on about the 7th one, Hannah. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
She said 4, but wait, she's like got to 3, and she's like 7 more, and I'm like, wait a minute.
4. There were 5, maybe.
Yeah,
She's
4
been
or
waiting
5.
for this moment for a while, I think.
There was
I'm so glad you asked.
That was a nice
Exactly.
diatribe. That was nice.
he doesn't even like to have the word New Year's in anything. So this is just 2024 for AJ.
Yes.
Do you
Well,
AJ, do you have a resolution for us? for
I
baseball?
do, and it kind of plays off yours, and it's gonna. I don't. Mine is. I just want every team to try. I'm sick of teams like you mentioned the A's and you mentioned the Pirates already. I want teams to try. I miss the old days where every team was trying to get better and every team was trying to put their best product on the field. And I just wish there was a way. And again, I'm not calling for this, but like a minimum salary to where teams are, hey, we have to spend, I don't know, 50, 60, 70, whatever the number is, to at least make us have to try, because it's so annoying. If you're a fan of the Pirates, if you're a fan of the A's, if you're a fan of some of these teams that just aren't trying, you go into the year and you're like, why would I watch these games? Oh, because we're going to try and lose 100 games again. Like, tanking sucks in every sport, but especially sucks in baseball because it's such a long, hard road back.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. I think if we'll never be able to get to that point because minor leagues is way different than it is in European soccer, but relegation, some type of form of American relegation would make all these teams try a lot harder. I get it. You'd still have teams that wouldn't. It's like fantasy football. You don't want to finish last, but I like that. My New Year's resolution is for Major League Baseball to sell the game to the fans currently, not the way they used to sell it, but currently. And my idea, they've kind of touched on it a little bit. You watch the game. What does everybody say? You watch the Sunday night game. Oh, I wonder who they're miking up. How about if MLB offers you a $3.99 per month package to have a subscription to constantly have a split screen. You're watching the Phillies play. Your subscription that you purchased is for Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper is mic'd up. He is constantly on a split screen, and you can have, until he is 10 feet from the dugout, a constant live mic that gives you a connection to the player, and you're always watching that player. If you're a up-and-coming first baseman, if you're a catcher, it's a little bit different for catchers. It's not going to be, you're always seeing the catcher anyway, but you can have that. You can have a split screen of him running down to first base and hear the things that he says, hear the things, because we are so much in a connection society now because of these things that we have an opportunity that I don't feel like Major League Baseball and some sports really in general haven't tapped into.
Oh, I like that you came with specifics. People are always like they should market the game better, but you're bringing ideas to the table.
For the local market.
There's only one problem with what Kratz says, and I love that idea, and I wish it was possible to do that. But if you're going to have this thing running all the time, and you're going to have, let's say, Bryce Harper gets the first base coach gets in his ear, and then Bryce is like, hey, what's the steal sign again? Oh, yeah, by the way, it's this. Like, and as a catcher, it's hard because a catcher can't really talk. I mean, he talks to the umpire. I mean, and then you put Bryce out in right field. If he's playing right field, I know he plays first base now, but he's playing right field, and he's just standing there going, man, I'm working on my swing. How many times do you look out there and the outfielder is going, man, my elbow, my arm?
That's what outfielders and third basemen do.
Exactly. I mean, they stand there and they're like, I used to look out in the outfield, our outfield's going.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look out, Canerco's out there doing it at first. I'm like, hey, pay attention, Paul. But, I mean, I love that idea, and I wish there was a clean way to do it.
Yep.
I think you guys hitting all of them nail on the head, everything. It was kind of like the concept I was doing. Promote the bigger athletes, Trout versus Ohtani matchups. So when these games come along, we got to blow this out of proportion, like even bigger, because nowadays it just seems like, oh, this guy's on the West Coast. So, we got to figure out a way to make sure these matchups are made where everybody can see them. And we just got to focus on making this game even better so the fans can enjoy this game as much more, not only in America, but all over the world. And I think another thing we could talk about is make it easier for fans to get to these games. Like, the prices are huge. Like, bring them down for these fans that are just going to their first game. Make it a wonderful moment for them and not just make these prices so crazy that some fans are sitting there like, man, we'll never get to a game. Make them come to these games, promote it bigger, and let's enjoy this game of baseball.
And then blackouts. And blackouts, too.
Oh, yeah.
And the blackouts. The blackouts are ridiculous at this point.
They're working on it. They're working on that.
I know,
I
but
feel
come
like
on.
we're close. I feel like we're close, but we need a Netflix doc for baseball. We need a follow, whatever that is.
They
like
did
Hard
it.
Knocks.
They did it. Nobody watched. They did it with the Marlins.
I watched.
They did it with the Giants.
They did it with
Giants
the
tried
Giants.
it.
I watched the Giants one. I loved
But
that.
we're in a
What was that? It was like on. They called it like.
It was
What
a
was that
Showtime.
called?
It was
The
on
Showtime. Yes, it was on Showtime.
But we're in a different era now.
Yeah,
We're in a different era than it was
that was a
before.
long time ago.
True.
Like
That was
Netflix.
2012.
Like, to me, F1 has blown up because of what they did. Baseball needs to hit that market and niche. Don't hide behind the, well, it's annoying. Well, it's real intrusive. Football is the most they don't want to give any of their secrets away. Like baseball, we're just going out and whacking a baseball and throwing it as hard as we can. Like, let people in, and you're going to all of a sudden find a group of people that did not follow baseball and like, wow, I became started easy. Be a Royals. Like, do it with the Royals. It will be interesting. I promise. It will be awesome.
You know what they need to do as well? You know how football has Hard Knocks? They need to do that for a team in baseball. I think that would be unbelievable. Follow them around.
That's what I was kind of getting at.
You know what I mean? I think that would be put that on HBO and just follow around Mike Trout for a day or something. I mean, come on. I mean, who wouldn't want to watch that if you're a baseball fan?
You know what I've always thought they should do? Make a reality show about a minor league team. They'll definitely let you do it.
They do it now.
Do they?
The Yankees do it. It's called The Pathway to Pinstripes. It's not a full reality. It's not like Big Brother.
No,
I mean like full on. We got reality shows on fishing boats and tour boat. Like, there's all sorts of subcultures. Subcultures are great for reality shows. A cast of people. I feel like you could make a true, almost like reality style reality show, MTV style reality show about a minor league baseball team. Let it be crass and everyone's slumming it or long bus rides. Show the reality of the minor leagues. That would be a fun reality show. And let me follow along. I want to be involved somehow. Not totally sure.
Boom.
All right.
Hannah was called Bull Durham.
I know, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Call it Bull Durham or something. we gotta slap hands. Is that how I introduce things?
Yep.
This is only my second episode hosting, but how many more do I have to do before I get to see the video high-fiving someone?
You got to come to my place. We did it down here.
All right,
Don't feel bad. I'm not even in it, so
AJ's not coming to Jersey.
No,
they don't give high fives in Florida.
All right. On this date in 1973, George Steinbrenner bought the Yankees from CBS for $10 million. The team, still owned by the Steinbrenner family, is now worth $7.1 billion. And if everything else we've said in these resolutions doesn't drive that point home, they can afford to try, because whatever their income is as a team last year, the point is all of these teams are worth so much, and they are worth so much more than these owners bought them for. And so if they really are hard up for cash, they can always sell the team to somebody else, make a huge profit, and let that person try a little harder. We got some birthdays. Got AJ Burnett. Check out his Legends territory over on our YouTube page. And Luis Soho. And all right, now Kratz hats.
Yeah, the
Show
hat
us
that
the-
matches
the
your hair.
hat. The hat that matches my hair. I wanted to ask you earlier, but I couldn't.
Anybody
Oh,
know what that
Kokies.
is?
It's a repeat. You already had this one, the Kokies.
I did.
Ooh,
Good
I don't know
memory.
it. Tell us
They're
about
called
it.
the Coquis.
And
It's a frog from Puerto Rico. I wore it the day we had Kike Hernandez on, but it's the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs Copa de Diversión. That's the hats they wear. A bunch of minor league teams do it. So it's
I
the one
love
that
it.
matched your hair.
that's a very good hat. The Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs sent me a hat when they did a Scrapple Day, and Scrapple does not lend itself to being turned into a mascot or a logo. It's kind of just like a brown square. This is better.
Yeah. They do some good hats.
All right.
Thanks,
Anna,
all.
thanks. Thank you for taking over
Thank
for
you.
Scott. Yes, thank you.
For taking over? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not filling in, just fully taking over.
Taking
He's
over.
out. He's out.
You
I'm
can't
making
move
sure
into
he's
eight.
He's staying in South America.